What is going on, everyone? I'm going to be walking you through the steps of my matcha white chocolate sourdough prep. Step 1 is to weigh our dry ingredients of flour and salt. Any bread you're making, I recommend using bread flour. This has a higher protein content and in turn has a higher gluten content. Next, weigh warm water, and since I'm using matcha, I have a milk frother to incorporate it. Making it the traditional way is way longer. Feel free if you want to do that. This goes in a separate bowl where I then weigh and test my sourdough starter if it's ready to use. I use the float test. It's pretty much when you add starter to water, it should float. The gas the yeast expels is what makes it float, which is super cool. Once the starter is mixed in, combine wet and dry ingredients. If you have a stand mixer, this part is super easy. If you're hand mixing like I am, you got to summon the power of your ancestor because this sucks. For bread making in high hydration doughs, I like working on a silicone baking mat. It's just way easier for cleanup. Time for a white chocolate. I'm using New Zealand caramelized white chocolate. It's super sweet. Has a lot of depth of flavor, so it should balance out the earthy matcha. Chop it up to whatever size you like, mix it in, fold it to trap it within the layers. You just gotta incorporate it somehow. When it's on the mat, I'm folding it 4 times, then flipping it to create a better shape. Rolling it into a ball for our first rest. 30 minutes later, it's time for our first set of coil folds. Sourdough is extremely finicky, and whenever you're gonna touch it or pick it up, ensure your hands are slightly wet. Picking up and folding each side under the center will ensure our crumb is aerated through the entire loaf. Cover and rest for 30 minutes. Coil folds can be repeated between 1 to 5 times with a 30 to 45 minute rest in between folds. It's really up to you how you want to do it. On busy days where I can't be fucked, 1 set of folds is all I need. On the last set of folds, we're rolling it into a loose-ish ball, lid on, and it's time for our bulk ferment. This is the part that makes or breaks your loaf in all honesty. This part has so many variables, it truly blows my mind every single time I make sourdough. Bulk fermenting mainly depends on the temperature inside your house. It can take anywhere between 4 to 12 hours. Essentially, we want to be looking for our dough to be doubled in size. I leave it on the mat flat with a clear container covering so I can gauge size for me. I know it's ready when it goes from 7 to 11 inches in circumference. Lightly flouring the top, get under and flip. There's no pre-shaping for this loaf since I rolled it into a ball after the last coil fold. For final shaping, I like to think of a compass. We're going to start with folding sides east and west, grabbing the top and rolling over itself, closing the seam with my thumbs. We're gradually building more and more tension. Blunt the sides and into a rice flour banneton. I'm going down the seam, stitching to build more tension, leaving it out at room temp until it gets a little larger, filling the banneton. The poke test is a good way to gauge once it's ready for the fridge. Poke the dough, and if it comes back to you fast, it's not ready. If the hole stays and comes back slowly, it's ready to go into the fridge overnight. For the next day, preheat your oven and cast iron pot 230 Celsius 30 minutes. Dough onto the baking paper and score. I like to go for the classic ear shape, just something real basic, and the wheat pattern. Feel free to let your artistic creative side take over in this step. Spritzing with water, a little more rice flour for contrast, and transfer baking paper and all into a preheated cast iron pot. A little more water for good luck, lid on and into the oven, same temp for 30 minutes. Time's up, lid off, and cook until the top is brown to your liking. For me, this took roughly around 20 minutes, and I changed from fan bake to direct heat. After cooking, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, is to let the bread rest 1 hour before cutting in. This completely blew my expectations. I really thought I put in way too much matcha, but the caramelized white chocolate is so sweet it pulls it into the delicious territory. I like to have this bread with a generous serving of Nutella. The 2 chocolate combination works so well together. The earthiness from the matcha gives foundation, while both chocolates take us into the sky. The sour from the sourdough really takes this bread into the next dimension of flavor. Sourdough is one of those hobbies where time, practice, and patience really pays off. Once you get the hang of it, you're unstoppable. We're at the end of the video. I'll let you listen to my initial reaction after tasting this delicious bread. And if you're new to the channel, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I will see all of you on the next one.
Matcha white chocolate sourdough. Wow, sweet and sour bread. Holy shit, that's so good. I used matcha and a chocolate called Blondie. It's a caramelized white chocolate. and it's the best. There's some chocolate right here, so that's where my first bite's gonna be. It smells like overwhelmingly matcha-y, super earthy, but the chocolate's super sweet, so I'm praying that it'll balance it out, but let's give it a go. There's some beautiful sourdough. And it's like sweet and sour bread, eh? And like the earthiness from the matcha, it does a really good job at balancing it out. So it's not overwhelmingly sweet, it's not overwhelmingly sour, and it's not overwhelmingly earthy. We get a lot of texture from the crust. And guys, this is a beautiful loaf. Not too dry. Everything is there. The sweet, the matcha, the sour, the earthy. Man, if you enjoyed this content, please like, share, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.